Good evening and welcome to the Medium channel, where, as always, we bring you the spirituality behind the message. So, if you're watching this as a video, we're going to start in just a minute or two. I like to just give the live people a moment to get their notifications and to get on. And if you don't get notifications, what you need to do is subscribe to the channel. And even if you're already subscribed, hit that bell icon, that bell notification on the channel page, and then when I do my live events, you'll get notified. So that's the drill. Let me turn the pings off. So I've got 22, I think, points to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. This is, by the way, this is the psychic predictions for February. And we have a lot to talk about. And February is nothing compared to March. So I'll give you a heads up right there that March is really going to be action packed. But February has its moments. So we're going to do that. Some of the predictions, if you were, maybe forecast is a better word. 'Cause I'm not really giving like world predictions. That's not my forte. I mean, it happens sometimes, and in my yearly forecast, I've gotten the right months of very specific events, but it's not really what I do. It's more like understanding the energies and then giving people a perspective on how that energy is likely to affect us globally, as well as locally, as well as personally, and what we can do about it. So there's no doom and gloom, but there's no sugarcoating either. So it's not like we're about false, what they call that, hopium or anything like that. But that said, I am really hopeful. There are some really positive changes that are coming, but there is still a lot of challenge to move through. I know a lot of you are aware of that already. Let me say a few quick hellos, and we're just going to dive in. Oh, right. I dropped a point there when I thought of another point. But the point that I dropped is we're going to do that. Then there's a few spiritual exercises that they recommend for us. When I say they, the master teachers or the beings that I channel, and the information that I get, a combination of what I get psychically and through spirit and through channeling, as well as what's coming up astrology and numerologically. So I'll touch on that in the beginning. You have the 22 what did I say? Not prediction, the forecast, different points of reference, and then I have some divination cards. So in case I'm missing something, then spirit can bring that through also. So excuse me, my nose is itchy. I know that's disgusting. Sorry about that. Hi, Elle. Hi, Carissa. Welcome back. Hi, Maria. Welcome back, everybody. There was that mediumship last night. Only 22. Duh. Oh, 22, only 22. Yeah. Sorry to disappoint you. Hi, Pug Life. Good evening to you also. Hi, Pat and Suzette and Susan and Joanne and Michaelson and Lisa and Brooke and Doreen of the Children's School of Yoga. Yeah, we had a wonderful mediumship session here last night, and a couple of people got their messages today when they watched the video. They weren't at the live stream, so I love when that's able to happen. So, hey, blindly inspired, and welcome back. Welcome back. Another, please. All right. So, if we have any tech glitches, I don't know. I try to appease the internet gods. We'll see if it worked. I don't know. But anyway, let's dive on into this. I mean, I'll kind of keep a loose eye on my comments, but there's a lot to talk about. I don't think you want to be here all night. I sure the heck no, I don't want to be here all night either. So we're gonna try to move through these quickly. Okay, so we have five pages of notes. Okay, so writing down the astrology. Okay, if you want to learn more about the astrology, go to Integral Astrology channel with Armand Diaz. He does a monthly forecast, a weekly forecast, and he really talks about the aspects, including the asteroids also, which I find interesting because I don't know a heck of a lot about the asteroid. I mean, a little bit, but not a lot. What I like is it's combining the numerology with the astrology, and that really talks to me. And I have to thank Sharita Starr, wherever she is, if she's ever tuning in. I know she got real busy and had to pull back, but I have to thank her and her teacher Linda Goodman for helping me and bringing me that knowledge. So Speaking of numerology, this is a 9 universal month. So 2023 in numerology is a 7 universal month. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7. You add February, which is 2, then you get your 9. 9 is Mars ruled. So the transits with Mars are going to carry extra weight in the month of February. Also, Mars is about completions. It's the end of a cycle. So keep that in mind also. Now, all planets are direct. So this is a 23rd point because I forgot to write this down in my notes. So one psychic point for us is this is a time for action. We've been in a lull, we've been in a hibernation, we've been dealing with a lot, shedding a lot of skin lately. Now the planets are all moving forward. So this is really time to put your plans into action and apply that. Now it's Mars ruled, so 9 is Mars ruled. Mars is still in the shadow, and it will be until March. So it's still moving slowly, but it is moving forward. Everything's direct. Now we have a full moon on the 15th, another one at 16 degrees. This one, the sign of Leo, very social energy, very upbeat energy. 16 has this effect of leveling the playing field to rebuild on stronger foundation. It's the Tower card, key 16 in the tarot. So we've had, I think, 6 or 7 16-degree full moons in a row. The full moons and are very emotional. It's about intuition. It's about feeling and also water because it rules the tides and everything. So we're getting a lot of hits. These are hitting different aspects of society so that things will crumble down so we can rebuild on stronger foundation. I mean, it is hard. People are suffering in the world a lot, unfortunately. So let's send them a lot of love and compassion. People are being displaced. People are getting sick. There's a lot of heartache going on. Yet I feel hopeful and optimistic because I know, unfortunately, that these things are necessary in order for us to ascend and to grow and to reach our next level. So, the best thing we can do is open our hearts and pray and help those, that we can help or that need help and stuff like that. Now, the new moon comes up on the 20th, and that's at 1 degree Pisces. So that's another 1 degree new moon. 1 degree is new beginnings. Interesting thing about the full moon, and that's very defining in the energies of this month, is that the full moon's going to be at 16 degrees of Leo. And then Venus jumps into Aries on the, okay, hold on a second, on the same day. So Venus changes signs and it goes into Aries. So that's relevant. Why is it relevant? Oh, okay. I have it in my notes. Because that's the world axis. 0 degrees of the cardinal sign is the world axis. So when you have a full moon that's at 15 degrees of a 16, but 1 degree off of a fixed sign, which is the secondary world axis. If there's any astrologers out there, and there's another term for the 15-degree axis of the fixed signs in astrology, please post that. Let us know. But for right now, I'm going to call it also the world axis. So basically, that's going to really vibrate on a global level. And the full moon energy, like any astrological energy, takes days, weeks, and even months to pan out in the physical reality because this physical world is very dense. Some people in it more dense than others, but that's worth noting. So what other my notes are like scribbled all over, so don't mind me. The disorganized psychic here. So Mars, Venus are most active, and there's a reason why Venus is very active, partly because it is aligning a lot with the different asteroids and making a lot of aspects. What was the other reason? Gosh, there's another reason. Well, all right, I forgot what it is, but Mars and Venus are active, especially Mars, because we're in a 9-guided universal month right now. So look for a lot of global changes. Mars carries extra weight. So Mars is in Gemini. Gemini is about duality. Gemini is about the mind also. So that can, but also remember Mars is the god of war also. So Mars is very active this month because of the 9. Now, the interesting thing is on the 22nd, Mercury and Mars will trine, and that trine in the air signs can really be a very diplomatic. So I think on one hand, and I'll discuss this a little bit more to go through the 23 different points. On one hand, there's sort of this upscale of tension and aggression and war. But on the other hand, this trine is really, very good for like people sitting down and let's, use our minds, not just use guns and weapons, basically. So Venus squares Mars on the 4th. So that's part of the Venus, power also. And there's something else. Well, a Uranus, which is going to, Uranus and what planet are squaring? I didn't write that down. I think Venus. No, Uranus and what? Oh, all right. Maybe it's, I don't know. But anyways, that can create a little bit of tension, especially around relationships and interplanetary relationships. So remember, like the world axis, like the global frequency is really being affected by the transits right now. So let's get into this. I got like 22, 23 things to talk about here, which means I need more water. And hello, all you beautiful souls that are calling us beautiful souls, and welcome. Hi, Tilly. Hi, Hazel. Hi. So I'll just saying a few quick hi, Teresa. Hi, Tilly. And Hazel. And all right. Okay. And Pauline. Hi, welcome. All right. So I'm going to start more with the global stuff and work more towards the the community stuff and the local stuff. So one, I just did a whole list of weather and climate. It's kind of redundant. There's several reasons why the weather's crazy. There's geoengineering projects or utilization of sound waves or frequencies to influence global weather and weather patterns. Government partially admits to that even, I might add. There's also whatever reason you feel it's responsible for, and there's a lot of good theories out there, but the earth is warmer. The earth is getting warmer. The warmer the earth, the more oscillations in weathers. Ironically, you can have worse cold outbreaks during a global warming period because of the oscillations get stronger. I want to say and I wrote down about the okay, so early in California, early lull, and then gets hit again with more, heavy snow, heavy rain. I wrote the word paralyzing. Also wrote down the Ring of Fire, which is the volcanic ring around the Pacific. It's very active in this Mars energy. And they were showing me off of Chile. So watch that area, maybe the US West Coast, and I'm sure when we talk about earthquakes, they'll be in other locations. And they're showing me floods and bizarre warmth in the southeast of the United States. Then the freak snows in the eastern Mediterranean region and bad storms and cold in Western Europe, they were showing me. And a big nor'easter late in the month on the East Coast. And they're showing like a ice slide in Antarctica or somewhere, like a big ice slide that could create a tsunami, basically, also. And so, there's definitely, a few things. I know I'm missing a lot, but just you understand with everything that's going on in the frequencies, it's really going to kick up some weather stuff, and we may get some other news and other things going on. God, there's something I'm supposed to say and I'm not accessing it. Hate when that happens. All right, that's number one. Number two, disclosures of scandals to heads of state. They show me the number two. Oh, I even wrote down two disclosures. We'll see what happens. There's a lot to choose from. Mishandling of pandemics to, secrets in laptops to, what's it, classified document in virtually every freaking politician's home right now or whatever it is. So, I think we start to see a lot of the illusions and delusions that come out of the media and the heads of state that use the media to control the thinking of the masses. When you control the thinking of the masses, you control the masses. Media is a really good tool for that, as well as subconscious programming, frequency programming, EMF programming. All this stuff is alive and well. And because we've got this strong Mars energy in this Gemini dichotomy duality sign, I think we're going to see a real kind of a just an opening and understanding of like this whole like good versus evil paradigm, or it's all part of the same whole at the end of the day. But it's we're in a 3D reality to learn and to grow, and in this 3D reality, it's set up this way to be subjected to light and dark forces, but everything comes from God's spirit or the light. Of course, the light actually came from the dark, technically. I mean, if you want to get technical, it all came from a big void and some kind of a big bang. So anyway, look for that. 3 was trends towards more anarchy, resistance, further division of society. I think we're seeing more moving off grid, more of that division. Not everybody wants to be hooked up to computers, wants to be on the metaverse, and wants their spirituality compromised by technology. If we can live, work, and evolve and grow in harmony with technology, that would be a really beautiful thing. However, these are at this time anyways, until consciousness raises, until we awaken more as a society and as a whole, these things will be used to have power over us. So, that's something to keep in mind. The number 4, war, Mars rule, more flexing muscles as Russia, Ukraine becomes a global hub for a lot of different things. And the interesting, I don't know if irony is the right word, is that there are other wars going on, there are other conflicts, and all the we have to understand like where our focus is. There's ways to understand the ways of the media, and to be able to break the code, so to speak. And the idea is, it's not always like the media's lying. I mean, a lot of what they say is true. People that work in the media want to do the right job, the right thing, they want to do their job or whatever. I would look for where your attention is being diverted, and where what's it being diverted from. I think that's really the thing to look for. So keep that in mind also. But this Russia Ukraine conflict, or war, as it were, yeah, it was just very fishy from the beginning when you look at it from not just a geopolitical standpoint, but an economic standpoint. And why, for just one of many examples, why or maybe it was Lockheed, either Raytheon or Lockheed, was commissioned to provide arms, weapons, and supports for for a long war. But how did they know it was going to be a long war in the beginning? They knew. They know. And now we're seeing more of that. So I'm looking at more troops being deployed. So that may be a little bit of unsettling news in the West, I want to say. But that's it. Moving right along, number 5, diplomacy later in the month. I talked about that with the Mercury trine. So amidst that stuff, there are people, even people in politics, that are more enlightened, that are more aware, that don't want a lot of what's happening and what they're seeing. So and nobody really wants war. I mean, it's kind of interesting, for people, politicians or whatever, to really orchestrate this. But meanwhile, do they go to the battle lines? Do they see the horrors of war, or do they care? Maybe a question for another video. But I like the idea that I was sensing that there's some diplomatic action also happening, a sign that the awakening or consciousness is starting to trickle into the masses a little bit. Number 6, with a lot of people getting sick. And I was hearing a new potential epidemic. God forbid, maybe we're just talking about a new variant of COVID. I don't know. But a lot of that can be due to ascension symptoms. It can be due to virus reactions, because some of these viruses, one that I'm not going to name too much, also acts as a retrovirus. It could be vaccine reactions, so keep in mind of that. I try not to really dig too deep into the vaxxers versus anti-vaxxers here. I feel like they have their place, but at the same time, I feel like there should be more information available to people to make educationally informed decisions, rather than profit trumping the well-being of the people, basically. So, just, because it's common knowledge, we're dealing with, a new vaccine that hasn't had the adequate time to be tested for long-term safety. So we hopefully consciously and aware, but we went into this not knowing that we were part of an experiment, basically. So again, people that did the vaccine, if you felt that the potential benefits outweighed the potential risk, you did the right thing, basically. I hope that you were well informed and made a decision based on information. So that's one thing, that people may have a longer term reaction. They're showing a lot of like these mysterious symptoms, mysterious illnesses. A lot of that can be ascension symptoms, just reactions to the changing vibrations, the changing frequencies here on the planet and in collective consciousness. So that was coming up. Number 7 was Mother Earth resets herself. Don't be surprised if there's even a polar shift as an extreme, which would definitely have a cascading effect on the planet. As I'm talking, I feel like Spirit's saying not yet, but I think there's still going to be some resetting energy. And from what I understand, the Earth's core has reversed its rotation or stopped or something like that. So we're seeing some resets of the Earth. The Earth's a living, breathing being, and we're part of her, and she's part of us. And when there's a lot of energetic shifting, as well as things that humans are doing to compromise the sanctity and purity of the planet, sooner or later she's going to have a reaction. Everything resets itself. Everything in nature seeks that balance, seeks that oneness from whence it came, basically. So keep that in mind. Number 8 was undiscovered asteroids, close call with meteor, new comet, and it's interesting. Probably the day or the day after I was doing this, I got somebody on Facebook. I think it was actually Lily Nova, the lady that was on a couple of months ago talking about starseeds. Her channel's Lily Nova Starseed, and talking about, and it was a green comet, and again, this is what I've heard. I haven't really dug into this and known for sure. If you guys know a little better than that, if you have more information, feel free to comment that for all of us. But there is a very close call. I think it's only a couple thousand miles. That may have happened already with an asteroid. So we're getting some more celestial activity. And I think somewhere down the line, but I do have that down the line. So I'll say that for later. Number 9 was oh God, I can't even read my writing. Oh, I think of some inkling of some new spiritual teachers coming in, which would be great, or maybe old spiritual teacher with new messages. It's Aquarian season, so there's a lot of awakening that's happening. And what I may have wrote this down in my notes, but in case I forgot to do this, one of the things Spirit was saying is that in February, there's going to be 3 times as many people having a spiritual awakenings, ascending to the next level than we've seen in our lifetimes. 3 times the amount, and it's been on an incline. So number 10 was cut off of some supplies, more scattered than widespread. You haven't heard like doom and gloom about food shortages. Yes, I've talked about food shortages because it'd be irresponsible for me to not say that if there's a chance, so that we can prepare for it. But as I had predicted, that it would likely not be as bad as what they're saying. And then, if I was to believe what a lot of people, are broadcasting out there, the internet, would have been blacked out by now. We would have, all the lights would have been out. We would have been in encampments, or we would have, had to, rely on local stuff or stuff like that. Remember, there's a spirit, there's a higher power that's watching over us. So use prophecy as a point of reference, but don't take it as an absolute. Some very good psychics have forecasted things that are disturbing, but didn't happen. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that maybe as a collective that we've been able to raise the frequency some. So let's keep doing that. Number 11 was a lot of misinformation, agenda surfacing. That's been an ongoing process. Again, in Aquarius season, with Neptune very active, although that was more last month. It's active all year, though. And then when we come into Pisces season, talking about Aquarius, about Neptune being active. Now in Aquarius season, Uranus, which is sudden change, it's revolution, it's higher mind, it's community. That's all very active right now. So look for more. There may be some shocking news. Like I said, I feel like March is going to be more showtime than February, but it can happen. So 12 is devaluing of currency. So I think we're going to that long-awaited recession. I mean, hopefully not. They're saying globally, some devaluing of currency, new budget spending bills coming in. So, and then I wrote down here, Cancer full moon is on the world axis. So that affects the globe, and the full moons are powerful. USA Pluto return, which is still active, is in the USA second house. So that's financial. And Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius, is in Taurus, which is financial also. And Uranus is about sudden change. So it's things to keep in mind, that there may be some devaluing of money. And I always say, money should be in exchange for value. That's the new earth. And that's kind of connecting with how things used to be in better days, if you want to call it that, where a lot of things were sold on exchange of energy rather than a monetary system. So money should and is an exchange for value. If we keep that principle in our minds and heart, then we master money in this new earth. And then we figure out how to make a lot of money that way. Whether you're employed, you can add value to your job, you can add value to the business, the company, or you're self-employed, you can add value to your clients, add value to society. Exchange for value, even more than time, even more than goods, in my opinion. So that's number 12. Moving on, number 13. Oh, this is the good news. Okay. So I wrote this down as the good news. So that was the bad news, apparently. So this is the good news. 13. Very high frequencies affecting the planet. Yes, yes, yes. And we talked about this in January. We talked about this in the 2022 forecast. I feel like we've already passed through a photon belt at the very end of January. They show me lots of light portals, lots of photon belts, high vibrations, high frequencies. It will touch off more challenges in the system, but it will also help the earth to reset, and it'll help to get us into a more spiritual mindset. And the more of us that get it, the more we affect collective consciousness. So light portal activations all month, they were saying. And of course, we'll do more channeling with the master teachers. We'll do one on the full moon on Sunday. Those of us that are doing this work, and you can validate this if you want, are experiencing less in the way of ascension symptoms and an accelerated ascension process. Yes, that's what these beings of light, these interdimensional beings that I call the master teachers, do. They channel through me and activate energy and frequency. And then as I'm leading the process and we come together, you become channels for this energy also, and they activate you as well. And if you keep doing the work, it helps your body to set and reset your nervous system, your energetic fields, and it helps you to be able to assimilate higher frequencies and more energy and be able to handle that. So good thing to do. Number 14, UFO activity, disclosures increase. Well, we like that, of course, right? UFO activities, disclosures increase. Very good. So number 15, number of people awakening will triple. Did I say that twice? All right, well, I'm saying it again. Number of people awakening will triple. 16, glimpses of new earth begin. So we see between in between the corruption and what's unfair, and then unfortunately, because people can't handle these frequencies and the pressures from government, people are losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihoods. People are arguing because the powers that be want us to be against each other, divided we fall, and stuff like that. And and all that kind of stuff. So within that, we see those glimpses of hope. Maybe more like feel good stories coming out in the news or things like that, or more acts of heroism, or just flickers of light, basically. So So I think, and in March, Pluto's going to actually touch into the sign Aquarius for about 3 months before it backs back into Capricorn. So again, we're going to see that even more in March. So locally, they're talking about new love. Like some of you are going to be meeting, connecting with new love, a new soulmate. And soulmates don't have to be romantic, by the way. But they're saying, again, this is maybe for several of us, but if you feel an attraction or connection with someone, you must speak up. They're saying, don't try to figure out how you're going to process like your last breakup or whatever. Trust in the process. If you're feeling a connection with your heart, there's a reason. You're not going to discover what this is if you keep it to yourself. So they're saying, speak up. Don't freak the person out. Don't say, oh, by the way, you're my soulmate, you're destined to be with me, or whatever. You just say, I feel like maybe we have some kind of a spiritual connection, or we're taught, we're connected to the same soul group or something like that. And there may be, we should develop a friendship, that kind of a thing. I just feel like somehow, some way, somebody's not really telling somebody, that they have feelings for them, and then that person winds up with somebody else. Again, I don't want to, actually scratch that from the record. That's fear-based. We don't want fear-based here. Cancel, clear, delete. Everything is good. Everything will happen as it's meant to happen. So important soulmates are coming. Then they're saying also more alignment with partners and communities. That could be existing partners also. So your new soulmate may be your current wife or husband, by the way. Just a new level of relationship. And then more alignment with communities. And I circled this one, and I don't know if I can read it, but in general, there's a shifting energy of relationships as you discover yourself more, your perspective changes. So relationships are here to teach us about ourselves first and foremost. Relationship is about the reflection. Like I mirror you, you mirror me. That's how relationships work. And that's sort of a driving force of that. As we have a relationship, like if I have a relationship, even if it's just a handshake, for that moment, I that person's rubbed off on me a little bit, and I've rubbed off on them. And in some way, that person reflecting some aspect of me, and I'm reflecting some aspect of them. So relationship is very important. It's not all romantic. It can be relationships with animals and trees. So anyway, where are we? Number 18. Subject to poor judgment by feeling, I don't know how that got into the good news, but it did. Subject to poor judgment by feeling under pressure in situations. Take time to relax. Situations. Again, people are being threatened by layoffs of their job. That's a huge pressure when you don't know if money's going to be coming in, next week or next month. People are worried about wars, nuclear threats. That's all real, although a lot of it, again, is kind of like this thing that they kind of dangle in front of us to get us to fall in line and everything. But that said, that the threat is still there. I mean, there are wars, there are nuclear weapons, so it is what it is. But again, we do have higher forces and beings that are working with us, attempting to avoid anything. I don't feel like we're going to have a nuclear disaster or nuclear war, but something to keep in mind of. So again, poor judgment happens when we feel pressured. So what do we do about it? We learn to be present. If we feel pressured and we have a decision, try to be aware of your emotions and feelings, but then do some long, deep breathing, inhaling into your heart, feeling love and light, exhaling, releasing and any stress, worries. Do that for a minute or two. And then you may get some clarity or call on your spirit or your higher self. Okay, where am I? Oh, okay. 19. A lot of us will have awakening, new download, new teacher, be on the lookout, like on YouTube or Rumble or wherever you watch videos or books or whatever. Look for some new teachers, some new perspectives and stuff like that. A lot of us are getting new downloads this month. This is part of our community, here on the medium channel, but extends to all conscious community. And So lots of awakenings, lots of new downloads this month. Again, probably an increase. Number 20, time of completions, right? It's a universal 9-month. What do you need to complete in your life? What cycles do you need to complete? Are you a people pleaser? Work on completing that. Are you a rescuer in relationships? Work on completing that. Do you have unresolved issues from childhood? Work on completing that. Is your job unhealthy? Work on completing that. No money in the world is worth a substitute for your health and well-being. Um, do you need to leave a partnership or relationship? It's time to work on that also. So this is the time of completion, because Mars is the month of new beginnings. So resolve to put your energies forth to address and complete something that is difficult in your life. So that's what I wrote down, or what they told me about that. So I'm trying to glimpse at your comments, but I want to get through. There's so much information. If I start posting and pinning your comments, we're going to be here all night. Okay. So number 21, big preparation for big changes starting March. So this is the month to prepare. What do you need to do emotionally and physically to prepare? Again, it's not a bad idea to have extra supplies, have a way to get through a power outage, or if there is a local food shortage or whatever. That's still on the table. Like I said, I've always felt like it's a thing. And unfortunately, the poorer sectors get hit a lot harder than the more affluent ones. And I mean, food shortage is real. Just look at your food bills, if you don't believe that. And, there's what, about, how, I mean, they say we've lost about 95% of the bees, and there's been a problem with pollinating. So there's been, apparently, from what they're saying anyway, crops are down. But we also know there's been supplies that have been held back for whatever reason. I'm not going to say what, since I don't know for sure. And food storage units that have been shown to be burned down. But what we have to understand, there's a lot of what I call technology. Were food storage units burned down on purpose to scare the crap out of people to get them to fall in line? Or are they really trying to diminish the food supply so that people go hungry to scare the crap out of them to get them to fall in line? I mean, I guess either scenario winds up in the same place, doesn't it? I know it's not funny, but we have to make light of things. And by the way, raise your vibrations. Laughter is the best medicine. So definitely do that. So preparation for big changes. And number 20 is understanding and applying spiritual warriorship. Very important. I came into this as a warrior. One of the most important things about being a spiritual warrior is you take responsibility for everything, right or wrong in your world, no matter who did what to you. And I know a lot of us have had petty tyrants in life where our lives were literally ruined by another person or a group of people. I understand that. But if you're a spiritual warrior, you take responsibility. This is my reality in some way, shape, or form. I created this. And when you take that, then you start to change your frequency and vibration and change your reality. Personal story break on that, but it's very relevant. That's how I healed this lifelong eczema that was so severe that the chief dermatologist at NYU Hospital said, hands down, I had the worst case of eczema he'd ever seen. And it was a particular type of eczema where the organs start to degenerate. Also, it was a genetic disorder. 50 some odd years, I'm angry as hell about this. It's like, oh my God, why me? Why am I suffering? Why can't I sleep? All the steroids or whatever. And one night after a really, really bad attack, I just said to myself, this isn't working. I just can't be angry about this anymore. I have to accept this as part of my path. I have to practice what I preach, be a warrior. And basically, I went out that morning, did some yoga. I wasn't even itching. And even when I'm not in flare-ups, I was always itching. When I was in flare-ups, I was itching so bad that steroids didn't even work. That was my life for almost 60 years. So I went out, I did yoga, didn't itch once while I was doing it. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I got back on the car. Spirit talks us through synchronicities, right? flip on the radio, WDST in Woodstock. One of the only stations, other than, and anyway, I'm making the story too long. Cutting to the chase, I flip it on, and the song by Tom Petty called "The First Flash of Freedom" came on the radio from the album Mojo, which is still my favorite. It came out in 05. That's my favorite Tom Petty album. That album got no airtime. For that to come on the radio right at that time, that was a message from spirit. So then I work with mind over matter. I learned how to heal myself. Diets, although I was always doing diets, they never worked before I did the mind over matter stuff. And I don't have eczema anymore. 5 years clear, no steroid in 5 years after almost 60 every day. So that's what having a warrior's mentality can do. You can tap into a higher power, a higher force, a higher frequency. So we need that. We can't be in victim mentality. We can't blame the deep state. I understand, the logistics of it, that a lot is being caused by us. We have to understand. We have to take responsibility for everything right and wrong. And we have to have honor. We have to have respect. We have to be willing to fight to the death if we need to protect our freedom, to protect our rights, to protect our loved ones. But the warrior wants peace. That's the misnomer. Warrior's about peace. It's not about war. So understanding and applying spiritual warriorship. A good book is called Gonu Shorei, the Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Read Bruce Lee stuff also. There's a lot of the Carlos Castaneda, and the Four Agreements is kind of a not synopsis. What's the right word? Well, an overview of the Castaneda works. Like I read a lot of Carlos Castaneda, then I read the Four Agreements many years later by Don Miguel Ruiz. So that's that spiritual warriorship. What he's saying, that that book, that spiritual warriorship. All right. So I know this has been a long one today. I try to keep these at 30 minutes, but I had a lot to talk about. So a couple of practices to do. On a vegan, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there's somebody that knew me for a while. Thank you. You're so sweet. There we go. Thank you so much, guys, for that. I appreciate the support. All right. So one thing, lot of work with the earth. Now the world access is being hit very hard. I mean, I feel like it's a good thing, but systems may fall. That's that 16-degree energy. Systems may fall. So the new, more sustainable and more fair systems get put in their place. So do a lot of grounding. They're saying really look into Native American spirituality. It's such a beautiful path. They knew how to protect the earth and protect the land. The settlers did not know that. And rather than learning from the natives, and not everybody. And actually, I got a spiritual history lesson through my guide. When I had this idea of not liking the white man, because what they did to the natives, and I still don't for that. But they were showing me so many different examples of how white people and the natives actually did join. They actually did work together. They actually did learn and stuff far more prevalently than the wars and the genocide of the people. Certainly that should have a place in history books because it happened. It's ugly, but that was just those few that want to control everything. What's omitted in the history books is the common people, for the most part, got along, until they were so freaking fear driven, especially when they started to move out west, that they saw them as the enemy. And that's a whole different story. But they showed me this, and they showed me ceremonies where they joined and they all got along, singing, playing, and dancing together. So definitely. Yeah, or it can be any indigenous. It doesn't have to be Native American. If you're in like I know some of you are in Scotland or Great Britain, Wicca or is very akin to Native American spirituality. It's Imbog. It's a Celtic Sabbath day where we celebrate. It translates loosely to in the belly because there's more energy starting to rise in Mother Earth, and that's where we get Groundhog Day from. Even though I haven't seen that actually posted, or whatever, because the groundhog comes out, sees a shadow. By the way, tomorrow we're releasing a video on shadow work integration, which was partly what's the right word? Partly Xanadu, but then once I realized that this video is going to be released on that day, we handed up a little for Groundhog Day. So you'll enjoy that one. That comes out at 5:30 or 6 tomorrow. So another thing is practice channeling. You learn how to channel. And by the way, this is not meant as a plug. This is really what Spirit was telling me. But I do have a 6-hour, 2-part channeling, automatic writing, and energy channeling class coming on the 8th and the 9th, next Wednesday and Thursday. So next week is the first class. It's all recorded on Zoom, so I'll leave information for that. But this is how we get information through our higher guides. So learn that. And channeling is as easy as just opening, setting the intention, and just relaxing. Just let it come through. It may not happen the first time, the second time, or third time, but keep doing it. And at some point, and that's kind of what happened to me, something clicked in, and then it just started to happen. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to take my class. But if you want to, it's there. And they really were saying, to tell people this, to do this as a spiritual exercise. You can do automatic writing or pendulum dowsing, or working with divination tools like tarot or whatever. But they really want us to get into the habit of getting messages from Spirit more this month, because we're going to be able to assimilate that into action and knowledge. And the third one, they were saying, is find your mountain. And this is a shamanic exercise. I first learned from a friend who's a shamanic healer named Jen Bergeron. I shouldn't say I first learned it from her, but I relearned it from her. I learned this technique a long time ago. And what you do, you go into meditation and you find your mountain. And I found mine. It was a Cornell Mountain here in the Catskills. Wound up being my power mountain. But then sometimes it's Mauna Loa in Hawaii, the volcanic one, not the one with the telescopes. So maybe I have two. And then it's saying that they're saying, well, it's kind of like I've shifted, and your power mountain might shift. So what you do is you visualize this mountain, and you kind of allow yourself to have the mountain like you're standing in the mountain. You become one. It becomes one of you. Mountains are very majestic. They overlook things, but they're in the earth. And now I know, Mauna Loa is a perfect choice, because 2/3 of Mauna Loa is under the sea, basically. It's the biggest, tallest mountain in the world, but 2/3 of it is under the water. So it's only 14,000 feet above sea level. Mount Everest is about 27, 28,000 feet above. So only that. So that was the other thing. They're saying, find your mountain. And that's your power. Like that's your power expressed physically as the mountain. So meditate with that daily. And you know what? You're going to be more powerful, more grounded, and more connected to the earth, but also more connected to the sky, because the mountains join Mother Earth with Father Sky. So this is the spiritual exercise they were recommending. Let's do some divination cards. Let's do this. Yes. So I have, of course, the sacred geometry card. So I'm going to ask Spirit to help us find what our sacred geometry for February is. So I like to break them up, bring them back into one, then clear my mind for a second. They're telling me to drink water. Water, we're 70% water. Everything has water. The sun has water. They're discovering that the sun has water. Stars have water. Everything's got water. All right. Drinking water. Mind's clear. Found my card. It doesn't want to come out too easily. What is it? Fertility? Oh my goodness. All right. So Spirit's telling us all to make babies. Have a good night. Okay, I'm just kidding. But fertility can be fertility of ideas. All right, I'm sorry. The autofocus is pooping on me today. It's always an adventure with technology. But there's the sacred geometry, so you can kind of absorb that, or come back to the video if you want, or if you have these cards, work with them directly. So in any event, so that's that. And what it says here is the frequency of fertility invites us to be more open, more courageous, more creative, and more joyful than we were before. It activates the potential for something beautiful to grow from our consciousness into a new and grander expression of ourselves. So that this is the message that they wanted us to work on, basically. And you're vibrating, allowing yourself to vibrate with this sacred geometry will really help you to tap into that. So very good. So and then I have some angel cards here also, angel therapy cards actually. Need to get new angel decks. I only have 3 right now. They're all Doreen Virtue decks. All right. But, these have always really been spoken to me. So regardless of her change of perspective or whatever, the card's still pretty powerful for me. I found it. Okay. Crown chakra. Very interesting. And this, I picked this card like 3 different times today for different reasons. So obviously it's a message for me. And when I do my work, I it almost feels like somebody's like touching the top of my head, and Spirit saying, "Oh, you dummy! That's because Spirit, somebody is touching the top of your head, Spirit." But anyway, so dreams and watermelons. I'm just looking at your comment. Yeah. So pay. So pay attention to your ideas, that they are messages from true divine guidance sent in answer to your prayers. So as you're meditating, any ideas that come, or if you're just open and relaxed, and then maybe consciously work with the crown chakra also. Just feel it open and just feel light coming down. They show me kind of this golden to white, like cone-shaped light from the cosmos coming down into my crown and activating my entire system. I'm going to pick one more too, this one. Heart chakra, there's about I don't know, 60 cards here and only 7 chakra cards. It's interesting that I got 2 of them. Heart and crown. I get it. Exercise number 4, double down on your heart brain coherence. What do we always talk about here on the Medium channel? I love that practice. I have videos. I'll do the one for healing. I'll link that when this becomes a video to the pinned comment on how to do heart brain coherence for personal healing or to help others to heal. But yeah, that's what that is, the heart and the brain, the heart and the crown. And the third eye is also connected to the brain. So what's in between the heart and the brain? The throat. And we are in this, we talked about communication tonight. So this is part of it. When you become a better communicator, which is also about listening, and listening with the heart, not just with the ears, then that helps to blend the heart and the brain. When you can blend heart and brain frequencies, you blend with spirit. It's almost an automatic. And even in a mediumship meditation that's become very famous, called the Sitting in the Power with Tony Stockwell. He basically starts by bringing the light into the heart, and then drawing in a greater light and blending the heart with spirit that way. So in all these different practices, the heart is the portal to higher consciousness. It's the part of our physical body that joins the physical chakras, root, sacral, and solar plexus, with the spiritual chakras, throat, third eye, and crown. I'm just talking about the 7 major chakras. So the heart is where soul meets body. It's where spirit meets the physical, which is why it's so important. So as physical beings, when we open the heart, we open to the spiritual, and we start to blend our physicality with our spirituality. And that's when the brain unlocks and opens up. And that's when we start to tap into this unlimited potential that we have. That's when we start to awaken dormant DNAs. That's when we start to avail ourselves of higher frequencies and are able to handle and transmit higher frequencies. So work with these chakras, work with heart-brain coherence. That's the missing thing. I knew there's something that I missed in this month. That was the missing thing. So that's what I got for you guys. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here. Sorry this was a little longer today than my usual monthly psychic forecast. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. I think March is going to be a clear hour. So anyway, I love you. Thank you. See you next time.